All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. One of the biggest goals that I talk to clients about all the time, apart from money, is getting fit, starting that workout, starting that diet on Monday. You know, it's normally a New Year's resolution. It normally comes off the back of a conversation that they might have with some friends or even their doctor. But the problem is, where do we start? And as a couple, sometimes it is very easy to get into the whole workout regime and working out how to stay fit. And sometimes it's not as simple because I guess you can also teach each other habits which probably aren't as good. So to make it easier for everybody, I've invited the Wallers with us today to help us work out what we need to do to stay fit and healthy. Julian and Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Absolute pleasure. You just had a little one recently, so I know how tight your time has been. But, honestly, when I thought of this topic, I thought of both of you straight away. For those that don't know, Julian is a personal trainer. He has a business called Above the Bar Calisthenics. Above the Bar Calisthenics. I just learned how to say that. And Sarah works for Fitbit. So she's been in the fitness industry for a while, and she's recently started a new venture, which we'll get into a bit later on. So I thought they would be the perfect candidates to talk about this topic. So I guess, where do we start? You probably see this all the time, Julian, where people would come to you, especially couples. My wife and I are probably decent examples where, we used to work out, we used to stay fit, but then life just got crazy with kids and work and all the rest of it. Where does a couple begin?
I guess it's all in the time management. You got to work out, since we've had the baby, everything's sort of been turned on its head, and we've had to start sort of reassess and start sort of fresh when you've got another, human in your life that you need to take care of and look after. So I think it depends where you're at, but time is the first thing that's going to be crucial in working out where you can slot it in. Because, it's easy to do, it's easy not to do. So, just assessing your day. If you're going to be a better coming into the gym, get up, 45 an hour earlier than you would, and just bang it out in the morning. Or if you're more motivated to come after the little one's asleep, or you finish work in the afternoon, or if you work from home, you can get a quick lunchtime session. There's a few different options. It's just getting a bit creative with your time.
And I think the biggest thing is booking it in advance. So for us, if we were just to wake up and think, okay, when am I going to work out today? It's probably not going to happen. So maybe booking on a Sunday, book it in for the week. And just like it's an appointment that you have to show up to, for us, that makes it a lot easier. Whereas before, we could just go to the gym whenever we wanted. I could always do a 6 a.m. class before work, whereas now that's impossible. So for us, it's definitely booking it in, and also making sacrifices. Neither of us are training as much as we used to, and that's totally fine, but just getting that movement in other ways. So for me, it's making sure I take the dog and our baby for a walk first thing in the morning, and then again in the afternoon, just so it feels like if maybe I couldn't fit in a workout that day, that I am moving my body like I need to be.
Yeah. Because there's a quote, I heard this years ago, and this relates to anything in life, but especially this, is that it's no one's too busy. It's only a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
And it's so true, isn't it? Because like what you said, if you make time for it, if you say, okay, I'm going to do this once every 2 days or once a week or whatever it may be, you'll do it. But if you sort of just wait for the time to pop up in front of you, it's probably not going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I watched this Arnold Schwarzenegger video, motivational thing years ago, and it was everyone's got 24 hours in a day.
Yes.
And he's like, what? I said someone was something like, what about my 8 hours sleep? He's like, we'll sleep faster.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
The other thing that that is sort of crucial is that a lot of people want to come out guns blazing when they want to start a fitness regime. They want to think, oh, I'm going to go out and just go ham 6 days a week, like all in. Whereas I try and tell people like consistency trumps intensity, like over and over. So if you can only come consistently 3 times a week rather than sort of like a FIFO worker, like come in, go hard for a week, have a week off, come in, go hard for another week, it's not going to build any habit. Whereas if you can, even if it's twice a week, you can get to the gym, just as long as you can consistently build that habit, it's going to like be way more beneficial in the long run,
Yeah, that is true, because you probably see this a lot, but I mean, even me, when I start working out, I'll be back to myself over a week, 2, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but then suddenly it just drops off after that. It goes literally from hero to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of like budgeting in a way as well. It's like, as long as you just sort of start with baby steps, or just have something, start somewhere.
Yeah.
And as long as when that starts working, then maybe build on that. But
and I think especially for like women who've just given birth as well, or are new parents, it's like, just go for a walk, mainly for your mental health, but also it helps your physical health as well. And something that we actually had a conversation about the other day was like recently our babies started daycare, and so we've all been getting the daycare sickness, which has been really fun. So I haven't been at the gym as much as I usually am, or as much as I would like to. But in saying that, it just made me realize that majority of it is diet. So, that would be like the first place to start, is if you do have some health and fitness goals, start with the health first, and figure out where you can maybe make some healthier choices so that you're feeling good. And then naturally, then you're going to want to start to move your body after that as well.
Yeah, that is true, actually. And just before we get into diet, because that's a massive part of it, of being fit and healthy. I mean, last stat I heard is that the majority of being fit is your diet.
Yeah, it's like 8%.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned something before, Sarah, like taking the baby for a stroll, things like that. So do you find including fitness into your day helps?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
So that you don't actually even have to make time for it. You just need to somehow include it in what you do.
Yeah, and it becomes like an unconscious exercise, really. Yep. Like, even, as a new mom, like making sure in the beginning I was just going for walks a lot, and then also taking him out to shopping centers and walking around the shopping center as well. So in reality, obviously I wear a Fitbit. So in reality, I was getting anywhere between 10 and 15,000 steps, and I wouldn't even count that as exercise, mainly just because I didn't feel like I was doing exercise. It was just what I was incorporating into my day. So that's definitely important.
Yes, and I guess unless you've got the pram, taking the stairs and not the elevator and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And especially like with a dog and a pram, and you're walking at a little bit of intensity, you can definitely get your heart rate up. And if you choose a walking route that's a bit of an incline hill somewhere, like if you're pushing a baby and a pram up a hill like at a pretty fast pace, you're going to get your heart rate up, and it's you can easily include it in your day, which is awesome. I found that you really like it. And I really like going for a walk as well. Like, and walking, you can burn substantial amount of calories going for a pretty intense walk.
And it just clears your head after, a busy day. And it's also good, I find, for Edward, like our son, it's sort of like a cue of like, okay, the day's over. We're all like calming down now and just, relaxing before bed.
Yeah.
That's definitely a routine for us.
Yeah. And Julian, you mentioned heart rate, getting your heart rate up. So can you just expand a little bit on that? Because I only discovered this whole heart rate thing recently, about because essentially from what I understand, going for a run is obviously better than nothing, but until you get your heart rate up to a certain point, you don't actually start losing fat, or it doesn't have as many benefits.
Yeah, well, I guess like the fat sort of thing comes from, come back to the diet essentially. Like if you're gonna, it's like a car. If you keep filling your tank up with petrol and you're not driving very far, your tank's going to start overflowing and you're going to fill your inside your car up with petrol, which is the same as what, eating too many calories is doing. You're sort of just overfilling the body. So you've got to start with the diet, like with burning fat, essentially. You can't sort of out-train a bad diet. So if you want to work out, calories in, calories out, to put it simply, there's heaps of other like health issues that people have. I'm not a dietitian, but the basics of it is obviously consume less calories, put yourself in a calorie deficit, and that's going to start you losing some weight. And heart rate, yeah. So like it all depends what your goals are, but going for a run, obviously you can get your heart rate up if you're doing sprints. I find you can get a lot done in, a shorter amount of time. If you go to a footy field somewhere and you bang out, 5 or 10 lots of 100-meter sprints at a very short rest period, your heart rate's going to peak out and you're going to burn more calories per se. Your heart rate's going to, beat more to burn more fat, rather than going for an hour walk when your heart rate's just at a regular pace. It's not going to do as much intensity and help you as much fitness wise. So there's a few different things, like training weights. You're generally not going to get your heart rate up too high, but you're still going to burn a lot of calories doing weights. I burn a lot of fat, and put on some muscle as well while you do it. But
that makes sense.
There's so much you can go into, but that's the basics of it. Just eat less than you are currently if you want to lose weight, and you'll find out the point where the scales start going the other way. Then you're at a calorie deficit if you don't want to get too complicated with it.
Yep. And I know you're both not dietitians, but any tips around that side of things, around just trying to eat healthy foods? Apart from, because again, as parents, you do become a lot more time poor than before you had kids. So it's not as easy to, spend half an hour in the kitchen or an hour in the kitchen at night cooking dinner.
The main thing that we have noticed, and look, to be completely honest, neither of us are great in the kitchen. It's definitely something that we lack. Hopefully Edward takes up that role in our family when he's older and loves cooking, hopefully.
Chef Edward.
But we've definitely noticed the big key for us is making food in bulk. So for example, we'll make a pasta, like a bolognese with heaps of veggies in the bolognese, and that will last us a couple of days in terms of dinners for both us and Edward, which is great. And then the next one, the next time we cook up, we'll cook up like a chicken fried rice with lots of veggies, and that again will last us a couple of days. But the basic thing that we've done, which has worked for us, is just making sure you're eating more whole foods, like reducing packet food as much as possible. And, something that I'd like to do, which we haven't done, is do a little 2-week, nothing out of a packet sort of thing challenge. But that's mainly what we do. And it's just, if you really want to get technical with it, what you can do is download that MyFitnessPal app and just put in a typical day of what you would usually eat, just to see how many calories you are actually eating. Some people like to do that just out of interest's sake. Sometimes it's easier to just have a look at it to see how many you are having, because sometimes you can think you're having a certain amount and then you put it in MyFitnessPal and you're like, oh, I'm having 600 calories more than what I thought. And maybe that is why you're not reaching the goals that you want. But then as well, just try not to eat stuff from a packet. Usually that's the trick.
the less processed food you consume, the more you're in control of what goes in your mouth. You just don't know what is in there, and if it's in too much of too processed. So we go to the markets every Sunday, get our meat from the markets, get our veggie from the markets, and try and get our bread from there, most things from there. And we've built a pretty good relationship with the guys at the market stall, so we know where everything comes from. We know where the meat's from and all that kind of stuff. So we know we're eating sort of as fresh as we can sort of get our hands on, and the less packet stuff is going to be crucial, because you just don't know what's in there, especially when you go out to dinner as well. You go to Asian restaurant, Indian restaurant, you don't know how much oil they're putting in, you don't know all those sort of variables, and it can be a beef stir fry, something like that could be a shitload more calories, pardon my French, eating out to dinner than than you'd make it at home, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And I guess it just makes you aware of what you're eating, because I went through a phase like that. I was trying to eat nothing with numbers on the pack and trying to eat stuff that aren't, if I can, something that's not packaged. And it's hard, and you're never going to become perfect at it. I mean, some people probably are, but if you're at least aware of what's going into your mouth, that helps. Because again, as parents or anyone that's time poor, it's like you go from, work to doing everything else, doing everything else. And food just becomes one of those things that you just put whatever you can in your mouth in the time that you have. And fitness ends up being one of those things you just do when you've got time. And then
no one has time.
no.
Yeah, it's true. And the other thing, financially, mate, for your clients is, eating out quite regularly is going to be a lot more expensive for their financial goals,
These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a free 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au. Yeah, and isn't it interesting? Like the things we've just spoken about, like diet and fitness, it sort of the episode actually, that's one of the episodes from the other week. I actually talk about this, not spending as much time out of the house, spending more time together as a family and as a couple and all the rest of it. You actually end up saving money anyway, because you don't end up going out as much. You don't end up having to spend money to enjoy life. It's like, you're going back to basics, I guess, and doing what
and
families should be doing.
Like what we found, what I found is that the things I enjoy the most now don't cost us any money. Whereas before, when I was, I guess, a bit younger, I probably wasn't as fulfilled with my life. I was like, going out, boozing and spending $300 on a Saturday night and all those kind of things, which is making me financially poor, but also like it was just filling the void of not being sort of content. So when you're more content, the things that you really love are, company with people or family or whatever, and that generally is free,
Yep, it's so true. That's so true. And on the point of couples and spending time together, I just wanted to sort of work through some of, I guess, any tips that you'd give to each other, because one of the benefits of working out as a couple, if a couple can work out together, is the whole encouragement and motivation side of things. Any tips on that side of things? Because my wife and I are literally trying to get into it now. And I've told her, I don't know if this is going to work, but I've said, look, if I work out, you have to work out that day, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Anything else that you've seen that really works as far as that side, apart from getting an awesome personal trainer like you?
Well, I think the main thing is accountability. If you're motivating each other, you're keeping each other accountable. So if you go, if you go together, then that's great. But if you can't with the kids or whatever it is on your work schedule, then just motivating each other to hold each other accountable. Say, well, I've been, when are you going to go? Like, tell me about your workout. Like, just being supportive and then sort of holding them accountable to their goals. And if you have a chat and just say, hey, these next 6 weeks, this is what I want to achieve in my fitness, health and fitness. Can you help me be accountable? Like, help me be accountable to that, and like just be supportive along the way. If I want to make a bad diet choice or decide I don't want to go to the gym because it's early in the morning, whatever, just give me that little kick up the bum and say, hey, remember those goals that we spoke about? Like, let's go get it.
Yep.
And I think like what we said earlier, it's sitting down and booking it in advance, and don't wait to the last minute to decide when you're going to go to the gym. And also like making it fun together. So like going for family walks, or I know something that I think we'll try to do once Edward's a little bit older is like going for like hikes up Mount Cootha on the weekend, or, just something that's a bit more outdoorsy that we're all doing together will also be fun, because then it doesn't feel like exercise. You just feel like you're spending time as a family.
Yeah, that's so true. And also, you just mentioned it, together time, spending time together, unless it's too much time together and creates arguments, but spending time together is the other big thing. But this probably applies to everybody, but the reason fitness, I guess, has become really important to me is because I've seen people that are 10 years older than me, or even clients 10 years older than me, 15, 20 years older than me, having health issues that literally just pop up as you get older. Like it's almost guaranteed to happen unless you stay fit and healthy. So that sort of is my part of my motivation to sort of do it. But there's so many other benefits, like what you said, the family time and just doing things together. you know?
Yeah, and no one like wants to be that like old parent that can't like run around with your kids or
Yep.
you know, play on the floor, you know, with your kids and stuff. And like being a parent definitely ages you. Like I feel so much older in the last year. And so it is important to spend that time on yourself to make sure that like you're the best version of yourself for yourself, but also like for your family as well.
Yeah.
Wait till you hit 2 kids or 3. That'll
I
be
know.
interesting.
I can't. Oh, yeah. I can only imagine. I feel like we're hanging on by a thread now.
It's like I thought marriage made me feel old.
It's crucial. I think a lot of people also just sort of forget about it, and then when they, you know, kids or grandkids come along, they assume they can just run around like they did at school again. They just start doing it, and then they'll hurt themselves or do an injury. You know, my dad has never really been a massive gym person, and he's only just retired end of last year. Or same with my mum as well, but they have both like started like training, doing cardio, strength training, and they look amazing. They feel like really good, and they're like running around after Edward like crazy. So it's really good to see that that's like been a really big motivation for them because we've got a grandson. They want to, you know, make sure they're fit and healthy so they can play with him,
carry him as well. He's a big baby.
Like all those type of things. Like if there's like something that's pulling you that's bigger than you, then it's generally going to pull you a bit more than sort of the motivation inside your own head. You know, if you think about like you've had a baby and you're not really going back into the gym, you're eating crap and you're not feeling your best, then you've got to set an example. And I think that's good if you use that as motivation tools. Like my big thing is, you know, I want to keep up with Edward. I want to be like a good role model and all those type of things. So it's really that's why it's so important for me to sort of lead the way, you know?
Yep, that's so true. That's so true. Because it is easier said than done. Like everything we're talking about sounds great talking about it, but actually doing it, you do need that motivation. And I mean, it goes back to what you said before to, you know, make time, just start with something, baby steps. Julian, you said consistency is better than intensity, you know, so just start somewhere and actually just, because sometimes you could literally sit around for weeks or months trying to work out how you're going to start something. So I think the key is normally just start it.
Just do anything and just start to create then the habit. And then once you're in the habit, it's just becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth. You just keep doing it every day.
One of my clients did this, he was really struggling. Like he just couldn't sort of fathom change within his sort of personality. So what he's done in this is this sort of 30-day thing where he's like woken up. I'm trying to remember it. It's like he woke up, just put his shoes on and then went back to bed and did that, you know, every day for a week. And the next thing was like woke up, put his shoes on, packed his bag and drove to the gym and sat in the car park, didn't go into the gym and then went back home. But it was like, for him, it was just like building the baby steps, just even getting there. And then the next step was like waking up, putting the shoes on, driving to the gym, and going inside the gym, like walking around and then leaving. But it was just like getting there for him was a huge deal. Yeah. And so now it's just like, okay, I've made those steps sort of concrete, and I've, you know, got in the gym and I'm doing it, sort of thing. But depends, like, you know, that will work for him. It's not going to work for everyone, but it was just like he needed something that he could just like slowly build up because it's just super overwhelming for him to start like a new habit, you know?
Yeah. And even just like if you choose to work out in the morning, especially now as it's starting to get like colder, it's harder to get out of bed. But it's like for me, if I have committed to go somewhere in the morning, go work out, whatever it is, it's like as soon as the alarm goes off, just get out of bed. Don't even give yourself a second to think about it. Like just get out, get dressed. And that's the hardest part because once you're actually at the gym, you're there, you got to be doing something. So even if it's just walking on the treadmill, it doesn't matter. Just go and do something.
Super key. The other thing is like how good you feel. Like training in the morning for me is amazing. So you're more motivated to eat well after you train. You've got more energy. You feel like you've sort of, when I was plumbing, because I used to be a plumber, when I was plumbing, I used to always go before work. It's a bit harder now when I have clients in the morning, but I always go before work, and I felt like I was paying myself before I was paying anyone else. Like I was getting up for me and I wasn't getting up on someone else's watch. Like that was a massive thing for me. I'm like, nah, I'm doing something for me. So it feels like I've got up this early for me. I'm not doing it for you, sort of thing. I don't know. It's just this weird thing that I had in my head, but it really worked, you know?
Yeah. No, that is true. That is true. And I guess it's like, I mean, if you've got to wake up and go to work, you've got no choice. You're going to get up and go to work. So sort of treat it the same way
Yeah.
as that. And you mentioned a couple of things. So going to the gym. I mean, last time I went to the gym was probably like 10 years ago because I've just been doing other workouts since then. But the biggest tip I can give is keep the phone in the car, because I used to spend half my time on my phone, and I think it was just a thing. Whenever someone saw me at the gym, they just knew I was always on the phone, or I'd be there for 45 minutes and I'd only spend about 10 minutes working out. Apart from getting a personal trainer, which I'd highly recommend to anyone, any other tips that you'd give, Julian, for those that are going to the gym?
Get a program. Like, I'm not saying from a pit, you can get an online program, you can get like this programs everywhere, but find something that's in line with your goals that you can follow along, so you have a bit of structure. Because if you go in there and you're not really sure what's going on, or what you want to do or how you want to play it, you're really going to sort of just walk around and scratch your head. You do a bit of this, bit of that, and leave. Like, if you're going to go make the effort to go, you may as well like get something that's customized to you and it's going to work towards your goals, rather than just sort of going aimlessly.
Yeah, and I guess that's where you come in, isn't it, as well? Because, I mean, if you can you tell us a bit about your business, Julian, and what you actually do? Because I think the first step, I mean, for a lot of people would be to get something like that. But if they can see someone like yourself that knows what he's doing, you can sort of set that plan out for them, put them on the right track. But if people want to get in contact with you, if you can just tell us a little bit about your business, that would really help.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry if you can hear the dog in the background.
No, that's okay. His an extra featuring special guest.
So I do a bunch of different things. I have a face-to-face coaching business. So you come in and you get coached by me, work towards your goals. Another thing I do is online programming. So it's a customized online program, basically made for your goals. So I have an app that I use, it's a custom-made app that I've got. And so I can coach sort of virtually through that. So you can send me, like, initially I'll do an assessment, see where you're at, see what issues you have, what goals you have, and how we can work together, put a program together. And then I just touch base sort of during the week, making sure everything's going all right. You can send me videos and all those type of things so I can check your form and make sure you're doing things correctly. So that's getting super popular, the online coaching.
Nice. Yeah.
And then obviously face-to-face also. So you either see me, I have people that see me 4 times a week. I have someone that sees me 3 times a week, 2 times a week, once a fortnight, once a month. Like, depending on your budget and goals, I basically cater something towards you guys and just make sure it's in line with your goals, something that you can do consistently, and then the accountability as well. Just you've got me to check in with, essentially, yeah.
Nice. And also, if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
You can go on my Instagram, is probably the easiest, and it's the Instagram link is just Julian_Waller_, and my website is julian-waller.com. So you can get onto either of those.
Perfect. I'll put those links in the description of this episode anyway, so it's there. And Sarah, apart from working for Fitbit, you've just started a business recently, which has nothing to do with fitness. But if you could just tell us a bit about that, because I thought it was pretty cool when you were explaining it before.
Yeah, so I recently just started a candle business called Suburban Scents, and it started really just because I have always loved candles and always have candles burning in the house all the time. Yeah. Well, not all the time, but every day. And so I had heaps of like jars from the candles that I had previously been using, and I just thought rather than buying more, maybe I would get like a candle kit that I could fill those up with. So I started just doing that, and I enjoyed it. And so I just thought maybe I could do something a little bit creative on the side and make some candles. So I started the business. I actually launched it like 10 days ago, which is great. Nice. And we've almost sold out, which has been really, really cool.
Wow.
So that is what I've been doing, as well as everything else.
So cool. And if people want to buy candles, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so they can follow on Instagram. It's just Suburban Scents on Instagram, and my website is suburbanscents.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, both of you. Honestly, it means a lot that you've made the time for this chat, and I know for a fact whoever's listening to this will get a lot out of it. I have to finish my episodes off with a dad joke. So the question is, why doesn't the fisherman go to the gym?
Why?
He pulled a muscle.
Oh,
That's a cracker dad joke.
Gym. Yep, you know.
Julian has to work on his dad joke.
I did one the other day when I was at Edward's first birthday. I grabbed one of the potato chips and I said, "Oh yeah, I've got a chip on my shoulder," and I really liked it.
We're only a year in, so they'll probably get better as time goes on.
No, that's also I have to Google mine, so you're doing well. Thank you so much for your time again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, mate. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.